snow melting in some different models.
Okay, very good.
I'm Andrade. I'm a master student in English resource. But before I work on near section, with physical formulations.
Very good.
And
we are.
Hi everyone, my name is Alonso Pizarro. I'm assistant professor of technology and hydraulic engineering at Universidad de Nueva York.
Very good.
so we can maybe begin the. See? Come on, So I will introduce you, if you don't mind.
Yes.
So can I. Buenas tardes, voy a hacerlo en español en este caso. Buenas tardes a todas y todos aquí en la Universidad de Chile, en el Centro Avanzado de Tecnología de la Minería, y a los que nos acompañan en la transmisión por YouTube que tenemos hoy día. Estamos muy contentos porque recibimos la visita hoy de Salvatore Grimaldi, quien nos acompaña y quien nos va a contar un poco sobre las actividades de la Asociación Internacional de Ciencias Hidrológicas y sobre su propia investigación en hidrología. Salvatore es profesor de hidrología en la Universidad de Studi della Tuscia, en Viterbo, Italia, y es profesor adjunto en el Departamento de Ingeniería Mecánica y Aeroespacial de la Universidad de Nueva York en Estados Unidos. Salvatore se graduó como ingeniero civil hidráulico en la Universidad de Sapienza en Roma, donde también en el año 2001 obtuvo un doctorado en hidrología para la ingeniería. Y hizo un postdoc en el MIT después de eso. Actualmente es director del MecHydroLab Ingeniería Mecánica para la Hidrología y Ciencias del Agua, un laboratorio multidisciplinario para el monitoreo ambiental. Su actividad de investigación se centra en la hidrología estadística, el análisis a través de sistemas de información geográfico, simulaciones de precipitación, modelos hidrológicos, hidrología de superficie, tecnologías para las observaciones hidrológicas, la ciencia ciudadana en hidrología y la solución basada en la naturaleza para la mitigación de la erosión. Actualmente, Salvatore, desde este año, es presidente de la Asociación Internacional de Ciencias Hidrológicas, así que para nosotros es un gran honor y un placer tenerlo con nosotros en esta visita. Salvatore.
Thank you, James. Thank you very much. I'm frustrated that I cannot have this lecture in Spanish because I'm trying to learn Spanish, but it's not easy because it's easy to understand, but it's not easy to speak because there are a lot of words, and so you get crazy. So thanks for the generous introduction, James, and I'm very honored to be here and as a president of IHS. And as a Salvatore, of course, it's a big pleasure to visit South America because I strongly believe that the community is very strong. And IHS is working a lot to make in connection this vibrant community to the rest of the community of the world. And in the last 4 years, as I will explain you, we were successful in this direction. So today I prepared maybe 4-hour lecture, but of course I try to condense just summarizing my research activities and of course the IHS role in the international context. Okay, so I will start explaining you what is IHS and the value of this association, and then we'll go in a more technical details. So okay. So the International Association of Hydrological Science is the only one hydrological association in the world. The other are division of special union, and this association is a 100 years old association, very old, very long tradition, and it was born in Rome. Actually, I was very proud in 1922, and we have a very active community organized in commission. So we have a commission related to topics. Then we have committees for early career science committees and also regional committees. So you can see the African Regional Committee and the Latin American Regional Committee. It's very, very important. Actually, James is leading this committee and successful, I would say. And I can spend more words later. So activities, for sure, we have the scientific assembly every 2 years. That is the main moment of the association that meet with the common conference format. And then we have the annual commission workshop. So specific themes are, of course, a part of the commission. And so the commission organizes workshop on specific topics, okay? And then we have our journal. So if you want to publish a paper, consider the Hidrological Seminario the most important journal in the world. Of course, the impact factor is also high. It's a good impact factor, but I can promise you, because all my papers with the highest number of citation were published in the Hidrological Science Journal. Why? Because it is really well connected with all the community. It's not the only top journals that, of course, are related to a specific part of the community. Our journal is, since the association is 100 years old, is connected with a capillary with all the community. So I suggest to publish in this journal. We have decades, and I will spend 2 words later. Decades in an association is that, okay, let's fix an important topic for the next 10 years. Okay, and so this is the flag of the association for the next 10 years. Then we have the sister program, that is a program to support developing countries or less developing countries, actually, participation in the conferences or in the short courses or in other activities. So we have working groups, and there are specific topics that are that deserve special attention. Okay, so in this case we have the MOXIE working group that was created many years ago, actually by me, when I was involved in the association as president of the commission, because I will explain later. So the MOXIE that is chaired now by another Salvatore Manfredi, that knows him very well, and is taking care about the new observation techniques. The CANDY is a citizen hydrology working group. It's very interesting, and is chaired by Wouter, is an outstanding scientist related on citizen science. History of hydrology, it was very fantastic initiative promoted by Keith Bevan, founder of hydrology. And they create a lot of interview, and they post on the web the interview of the old hydrologists to keep the memory, and it's very fascinating. And so I hope that you can follow this, because you can learn a lot from the past. And then we have the unsolved problem in hydrology, is an initiative, special initiative promoted by Gunther Blusch, past president of IHS. That identified the 23 unsolved problems in hydrology. So, if you have questions, for sure you can interrupt me. So the next scientific assembly where will be in Roorkee, in India, next October. If you would like to participate, you can. I think also still submit a poster, only poster. And we have a very there is a new format for the assembly, for the IHS assembly, that I introduced it as a president. So you will have only plenary session, no more parallel session. So you arrive to a conference, you are not anymore disoriented which session to follow. And so there's one room, one discipline, okay, hydrology, and that's it. And so you can follow the long oral contribution. And there will be flash presentation for young scientists or also senior scientists. As a matter, 1 minute, so we can guarantee to the young people just to be recognized by the plenary audience. I think it's a value. And then this presentation will be, of course, subject of discussion in front of the poster, as typical. And then, who's selected? You can be video recorded in front of the poster at the interview, and then you will be posted in social and so on. So it's a new format. People complained a lot for that, for sure, but I think we'll be successful. I'm very proud that I promoted this special session. And it's very new things because the IHS in the future with my mandate, the main message is the, of course, inclusivity, but also scientific quality. Okay. And so the first time that in a logical association scientific assembly, there will be a session with the Stockholm Water Prize laureates. Okay. The last 3 laureates that we had are hydrologists. And the Stockholm Water Prize is the Nobel Prize of water. There is not exist the Nobel Prize of water, but the Stockholm Water Prize is really exactly the same because there is the same commission. The name is not Nobel Prize of water, but the name is the Stockholm Water Prize. And so we will have Gunther Bloch, is a part of the family of IHS, so we need to celebrate him as much as we can. And then Tai Kanoki and Renan. So the last 3, they confirmed the participation, so I'm very proud for them. So let's go ahead. So decades is important. We had the first decade we had was related to PUB, prediction engaged basic. It was an interesting decade to stimulate the community to study techniques, methods, and theory related to predict hydrological phenomena and quantities in engaged basins. That is the most challenging and desperate condition for the hydrologist. Okay. The second decade was on anti-rain, on the hydrological change, not only climate change, but on the hydrological change. It was very successful because it's important that nowadays it's more important the hydrological change than the climate change. We are all agree about the climate change, but it's important to understand the impact on the hydrological side. So this is it's crucial message that came from this decade. The new decade, the name is helping. It's already in the name that we understand the meaning of this decade, okay? And the acronym is that helping is hydrology, engaging local people in one global world, okay? And the name was created by Pedro Chapo from the Latin American community during the first meeting of the committee of the Latin American committee in Florianopolis. And so I'm very proud of that because we were desperate to find a good acronym. Okay, and say, okay, why not helping? Surprise at that. So what does it mean? That from the local knowledge, understanding, you can find global understanding. So only knowing the local hydrological phenomena, you can understand the global solutions. Okay, I spent a week last year in Lima, and I really felt a poor hydrologist. Why? Because every day there was a drizzly rain. Okay, and then someone told me that they told me the amount of the average rainfall per year. I said, okay. They asked me. So my answer was, okay, it's around there are the Andes, so maybe 1,000 millimeters. I say, no, 2,000 millimeters. For all the week, I had this cloudy sky with a very light rain. And they told me 10 millimeters per year. So what they say, it's impossible. I said, I checked on Wikipedia. I realized that it was true. So I understand that it was a poor hydrologist, because without knowing the local geological processes, you never understand the global solutions. And you could not expect that in Lima, there is a big city just below 4,000 meters mountains, you can have 10 millimeters per year. And that rainfall that I saw, it was not really a rainfall. It was something that was not possible to measure in the rain gauge because it's too light. And so you have a lot of wet, for sure, but after, you don't need umbrella. I asked an umbrella, and they might say, what is? Okay? So it's really important, okay? And but the most important thing of this decade is not only the topic. It is the first time that is a science for solution decade. Science for solutions. It's important that we need to identify solutions for the society. Okay? This is crucial. And I will be not too long with the presentation about this point. The decade is organized typically using teams, working groups, and actually this is important. There are 3 teams, and in each team of the decade, there are a lot of working groups related to a specific topic. And you can visit the website if you like one of the working group. You can be part of this and follow the activities of the working group. But all this part of the community that works, that are interested, is attracted by the helping decade. Of course, they should keep in mind that we want to identify solutions for the society. Okay? Our research should be oriented to a specific solution to the society. And you say, but of course, your answer could be, of course, it's not true. But it's not true. It's of course, but it's not true. We are not working to identify a solution. We are working to make what? Yes, okay. I will suggest a solution. Okay. Do we feel it making a difference? How? Of course. Solution for who? Who are our stakeholders? Students, for sure, you. Okay, you are in the middle. Okay. Governmental agencies, professional communities, policymakers, and decision makers. These are our stakeholders. So they will receive our research results. Okay? But which is the product of our research? They should be for the stakeholders. Which is the product, the main product of our research? Papers. Very good. Very good. Papers. Tons of papers. And this is the mechanism of research dynamic. Papers. To create what? The basic condition to ask for grants. But with these grants, what we can do? Students and papers. And with the students and paper, we can make grants. And then we can make papers. And then we can make grants. It is an eternal loop that provides what? Of knowledge. But no solutions. Just a small drop of solution. Who's going to read this paper? Nobody. Neither us. It's really a dramatic situation. It's a frustration situation. Because when I was of your age, and I'm getting old and feeling old actually, I was able every morning to read all the abstract published in early publishing of the journals. I was able to scan all the journals and read all the abstract. It was the first things that I did when I was doing my postdoc. Okay, I was able to do that. Today, I'm not able neither to read the titles because we publish more or less 100 papers per day in hydrology. So if you publish a paper on nature, wow, nobody will read it. And for sure, it is not read by stakeholders because we are too technical. It's not possible that they can collect an information useful for them. There's no way. I participated and helping started when I participated during in New York City to the UN Water Conference, the most important moment for us, the UN Water Conference, and there will be another one in 2026. I was in the conference as a IHS president-elect, because he was just elected at the moment, or was a candidate, I remember. I was with the president, current president, Barrett had made. And I was surprised that I met thousands of people, ministers, president, a lot of people, but no hydrologists, no scientists. So it's impossible. There's an enormous gap between the research and the stakeholders. And so we need to find a solution. Otherwise, we are like the mouse that ran on the circle. Okay? So, and of course, just was going to read all the papers, but I made this presentation, of course, in a high level panel, so they were just laughing, but at the end, they were not laughing anymore, because it's really something true. And it's important that, indeed, I'm going to submit to the UNESCO International Hydrological Program a new initiative in September, not the unsolved problem in hydrology. I'm going to ask to submit an initiative related to the 100 solved problem in hydrology. I would like to collect all the technical questions about the countries to verify. I'm pretty sure that will be a solution already available in our community. And so collect the answer for the stakeholders in a way to reduce the gap between the stakeholders and the research community. So, but why as a president of IHS should be interested in this? Because IHS is a solution. Because IHS is an association that, of course, enhances the collaborative research. And collaborative research is the only solution to provide solution, at least to identify a solution. Because it's not anymore time for individual research. The individual research is a necessary condition. Writing a paper is a necessary condition, but not sufficient condition to providing an impact to the society. So collaborative research is important. IHS is a good way to put in connection people and try to, concentrate, their attention, they focus on a specific targets, okay? And I also had the opportunity to serve as a president of COST. And as a president of COST is a program at European level that, of course, support the collaborative research. And so I discovered how much is important that Alonso was a part of a COST action and the work that I think that experience for you was very important, because you had in contact with many good researchers and you understood the value of the collaborative research. But again, what does it mean, collaborative research? Write a paper together? No. Submit a proposal together? No. Okay? Again, the risk is the eternal loop. Again, instead to do alone, you do it together. But it's wrong. Collaborative research is to identify problem and then identify and suggest a switch. And you can do together better than, of course, alone individual research. It's not possible as an individual research, but it's possible to make through the collaborative research. So if tomorrow we start to collaborate together on a specific topic, but we want to collaborate, we believe on this topic, I think that we can find a solution. And of course, we are available in front of the stakeholders because we are a community that suggests a solution, not a Salvatore suggesting a solution. With Salvatore, it's an individual. But if you go to the stakeholders and say there are 100 researchers, they are working together on this topic, and they found that this model is good for your problem, or they found that the glaciers are melting at, 10 centimeters per year, and that number is available because it's given by a community, it's a consensus by a lot of people about it. So I conclude this part, above all for the young students, that when you start a PhD, of course, we have to publish paper, for sure, because the national regulation like that you publish paper. But at world level, to have grants, you need to publish paper. So I cannot tell to young people don't publish paper. I cannot do that. Okay? So you have to publish paper, but when you start your career, you should create yourself a vision. Why I'm doing that? When in 20 years, I would like to do something. And so that paper will be the ingredient for that cake. Not the published paper itself is already the success of your career. So starting from here, now, I'm working on glaciers, what I want to do. I'm working on river flow, what I want to do in 20 years. And then I work on this direction, okay? And the senior scientists, the full professor scientists, apparently they should not have the anxiety to publish more, okay, independently of the community, so that maybe they can dedicate more time on the applied hydrology. That is important. Maybe in the applied hydrology you cannot publish a nature paper, okay? But you can provide some solution to the professional community, okay? So I think that I can close this first part related to the importance of the collaborative research, and so to the importance of the IHS as association in the hydrological community, and of course, in general, to the association. This is not only to go to a conference to present a paper, but it's important to create, to understand, to listen, and to meet people trying to create a group to work together. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about myself. So maybe there's some questions. No, okay. If there are some questions online, you can collect whatever. Okay, very fantastic. So this is my research group. Viterbo is a Tuscia University, actually. Is located in Viterbo this year. Rome is here. Is 100 kilometers. Okay, and Andrea Petroselli, Flavia Tauro, Cecilia Bologna, 3 associate professor, and the postdoc is Francesco Capelli. So the expertise is a surface hydrology, surface modeling, experimental hydrologist, and surface hydrologist and statistician. Okay. Oops. So in my careers, I started my PhD in 2000, so almost 20 years. So I started my PhD thesis on statistical hydrology. Then my postdoc at MIT, it was very challenging actually. It was related to terrain analysis, to GIS. And then I started to work on the experimental hydrology. And so then I mixed all these topics. And nowadays I'm trying to translate these 20 years of research in something useful for the group. We have very proud for this. We have a lab, an outdoor lab. Okay, this outdoor lab. This is a from drone image of our outdoor lab everywhere in the TP service. It's very nice. And in this outdoor lab that you can see here, we have an experimental slope where we can have artificial rainfall. We can monitoring soil moisture. We can monitoring the runoff and the sediment transport. So we can close the hydrological cycle in this 50 square meter of the slope. Okay, so we can study the runoff initiation and how the runoff starts. It's a crucial problem. Then we have green roof. We test several types of green roof that are very fashion topic these days. And actually, it's not really what it disappears. Okay, not necessarily. These green roof are able to mitigate the hydrological extreme and also the temperature issue. Okay, it's fascinating. Then when the vegetation is dead, sometimes you can have a negative temperature here compared to the benchmark that is the steel roof. So I think it's fine. It's an interesting topic, I would say. And then, I mean, for curiosity, we built the biggest range of the world. And this is a range of 100 square meters. And so, because of science and research, it's also curious. Okay, so I was fascinated by the fact that we measure rainfall just using a range that collects rain in a 0.1 decimeter square. Okay, and so we built something very big, and then we installed many ranges, and then you can see live all the lab. If you go to the website of our lab, you can just following live all the measurements, all the sensors. Of course, we launched last month, so it's still, you know, the website is still a complex machine to be really working. But it's interesting to monitoring the behavior, and also to see live the experiment that we do in the East Loop. In the experimental slope. But we have also an experimental basin near our university, and this experimental basin is a in-water catchment, so very small. We are talking about 4 kilometers square that we instrumented with 21 sensors to measure the water level, so to understand the dynamic of the wet dynamic in the river, in the very small river, because this is the core of the flood. Floods start from the headwaters, and so you need to understand what's happened in the headwaters. And we have in the Rome town, in the city, okay, you see the Tiber River passing through the historical center of Rome. Here we have an experimental station where I will show you. We have a sensor to monitor the river flood and the river flow velocity through cameras. Okay. And then we have our numerical lab. Okay, is pretty new in this part of the lab. There are all the software, freeware operating in the web service. So all our research, following 1 or 2 publications, will be translated in something that is available online for the community. It's not easy. It's time consuming. You will not publish, cost a lot. And then, but it's why it's time consuming. Because when you write a paper, it's okay. The reviewer says it's okay. The paper is published. Okay? But if you do a model, it should work. It should work for not only for the tendencies that you use in the paper, for all the tendencies. Also for the Lima tendencies, not only for the Rome tendencies. And so it means that there should be a long period of testing. That of course is time consuming, and of course you cannot publish in Nature, but maybe you need to publish in a Journal of Hydrology Regional Studies or in Computer Geoscience. So it's a good journal actually. And so, but now, at least in Italy, the community is recognizing that the small University of Tuscia and Viterbo is doing that, because we are the only one that is doing that, creating solutions for the engineers. And maybe later I can show you something that we just to understand how complex this is, but how useful it is. So today I prepared 3 topics, okay? And these are the related papers for us. Okay? So one is related to a long-term topic that we spend a lot of time in the last 15 years, okay, to create low-cost instrumentation for river flow monitoring. Okay? Then here is the typical problem in hydrology, rainfall simulation model. Okay, this is a very nice example. because when I was PhD student, there were already many possible approaches to simulating rainfall time series. That's crucial in hydrology, okay? Nowadays, there are maybe a double number of approaches, but if you want to apply one of these, you cannot do that. You get crazy. You cannot understand which is the best one, which is more appropriate for your problem. There are no codes available. You should take a graduate library for something to apply it. Okay, so I try to put together the most important statistical hydrologies on this topic, and we try to identify a solution for a very flexible approach that is disconnected by the observation that we have available. So I will mention briefly. And then the last one is related to a new statistical tool that recently introduced it. And we use this statistical tool that the name is Future Important Measures. Okay, and we included this topic, this tool, in the flood early warning systems. Do you know what is the flood early warning system? It's a system that is designed on a watershed that advises, warn you when the flood is coming. Okay, so I will show you briefly the first two topics, and then we can go to the third one, maybe with more details, okay? But in any case, I would like to describe these first two, and also to underline the possible collaboration for the future among our departments of research. So, everything started many years ago, where we realized that using a video, you can evaluate the velocity of the flow just using a video. Okay? Now it's a common practice, and there are also startups that do that. And the fact it's interesting that although the technological transfer was successful, because the community started to work on this topic many years ago. This paper was 10 years ago, so it means that at least 20 years ago, okay? And startups were created, but in the common practice, still are not really diffused, okay? And so we put this technique on drones, and but Salvatore Manfred, my colleagues with the harmonious cost action, developed all the background and all the application. And the techniques are very easy, because if you take a video, the video is a collection of frames. Okay, they are frames with a time distance. Okay, and so if you decompose and adjust the videos, then you can apply some algorithm of the image analysis algorithm that allow you to identify the movement of some objects that are present in the videos. Okay, so from this, I'm simplifying the concept. From this, you can, of course, reconstruct the trajectories and then estimate the velocity. Be aware that you cannot measure this velocity in another way. The common approach in the river flow allows you to measure just velocity using the hydrometers or the standard techniques, not during the flood. Otherwise, you will lose the instrument. So this approach, the only way to estimate the velocity during the flood, that actually is the most important moment for which we like to have the measurement. So it was really important when it was introduced, these techniques, because it was not intrusive. So it's not necessary to introduce a sensor in the flow, in the contact with water. Okay? So this technique is, we can consider really well established. And it was optimized in terms of algorithms. It's easy. And then we just focused more on this kind of heat water streams. So they are very small, very unstable in terms of turbine and section. You cannot make any infrastructure because you cannot do you cannot build a bridge just to put a sensor here, okay? Because it's supposed that you should install at least many of these instruments, okay? So very challenging situation. If you dig to install a pressure sensor, no way, it will be covered by the map, okay? So in this very nice hydrological situation that you can see in this picture, if you see this small river already with some water inside, you see, okay, this pole is enough to measure eventually. I will explain the approach now. But if you see what's happened during the flood, you can understand how it's difficult is to measure this rivers, actually streams. Okay, they are very, very impulsive. And so indeed the pole was submerged, the camera was submerged, and then of course the camera was the pole was okay, I understand. So the concept was very easy. Take a wildlife camera, put a white pole in the channel, and then take pictures and apply a very simple image algorithm. Since the pole is white, or we analyze all the colors, we made a lot of research on this, of course, and in the end the solution was clear that if you put a white pole in the river and use the very low-cost camera, you can do the analysis and you have the water level. Okay. From that experience, we went ahead and okay, we tested the performance, so forth. And so we created this magic hydro box. The magic hydro box, what does it mean? Oh, it's cool. It's cool. And that we want to make the image analysis algorithm application on site and transfer by the network only the numbers, not the image. Otherwise, it's on this. Okay. And so in this case, you can make the analysis and then, of course, take the number and transfer. Now, we made oh, okay, it's complex, but it's 200 euro, 300 euro, it depends. Before COVID was 300 euro, now maybe it's 500. Okay. And of course, we didn't. We did not develop that. We needed a consultant, a company, or a young computer science student that collaborate. No, it's a multidisciplinary activity. And so we started in Peru, San Pedro de Casta, 4,800 meters. I was almost dying there. Okay, also because there was a ceremony with the community, and I had to drink also alcohol at that altitude, and so to gratify the herbs. It was very fascinating, but I was really dying, and so but the installation was very nice, and now we are analyzing the results. Good during the night. During the day, it was a nice feedback that the light was too much. Okay, and so we need to recalibrate a little bit the algorithms to manage that. So we have another in the Alps, and another, of course, in our university. So, but what is the possible collaboration on this? Very easy, because we can install it here also. But what is much more important, the magic hydro box. Why the magic hydro box? Because in my view, with the technology already available, you can measure the water level without need. You can measure the water velocity. You can measure the water, not the water, the cross section. If you are talking about the ephemeral streams, when there is no water inside, using two cameras in the box, you can make the survey, of course, the bidimensional survey of the cross section. And so you can understand which is the geometry of the section. And then you can estimate, of course, the water level, the water velocity to the algorithm. And so you can estimate the discharge and the erosion processes, because you see how the section is modeled. So this could be very magic out of the box, because with the 5, maybe 800 euros, you have something that is really unprecedented. And everything is already on the table. It's already available. It's a matter of time, matter of interest to make it real. Okay, so it could be an interesting. There is a lot of research to do that inside, applied research, but still there are research to do, and also there is a startup incubator also initiative, and we are doing maybe with also Chinese colleagues. We are doing the same, and so the other topic is rainfall simulation model. How much? Maybe another 15? 15? Okay. So very, very, I don't want to really open the statistical door too much, otherwise I will get bored. I was bored for my PhD, so I understand what that means. But simulating rainfall intensity is very important. If you want to apply an hydrological model, it's important that you can have a synthetic scenarios to use in your model. Okay? And what is important nowadays is that also for bigger basin, you need time resolution lower than or higher, depends of the daily scale. So it's important to arrive to 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. So what is important that an hydrologist can have available a tool that is able to simulate thousands of years at 10 minutes, 15 minutes time resolution. Okay, so that we can use that time series in an hydrological model and evaluate all the possible variables. Okay, of course, can be on single site, multi-site, preserving the cross correlation, partial cross correlation, preserving the correlation with other variable like temperature and so on. So it's a complex topic. But the bottleneck is, one of the bottlenecks is that nowadays we have available at 15 minutes only in the best situation 30 years as observation. Okay? But typically you can have, at least in Italy, you have 15 years. I don't know in Chile. Chile, how many years of observed rainfall intensity you have? At 15 minutes. 5 years? Maybe. How many years you have a daily scale? More, longer. Okay? And I presume that you have also the intensity, duration, frequency curves regionalized in your country. So these are the information that the engineers use to make the extreme value analysis. Okay? So the big effort these 3 years that they're working on this is to create a model that allow you to simulate densities at sub-hourly scale without having available observation at sub-hourly scale, but having available observation daily scale and available the IDF curves parameters. Okay, so you can understand that the idea was not the paper. The idea was what they have to do the engineer now. So let's find a solution for that, quite general solution. And there is a research to that because it was very, very, very challenging to do that. Okay, so the framework that we published a couple of papers, a lot of papers with this topic, it's easy not to make a paper in this case, much more than the experimental methodology, okay? So the idea was to, starting from sample daily time series, apply a model for simulating daily rainfall time series, and then apply a multifractal disaggregation scheme using the IDF parameters. So at the end, you have your synthetic scenarios. Okay? Simple. So then the framework is simple. So I just skip the. It's very easy to simulate daily rainfall tendencies. You can find a lot of approaches. Okay? We just worked on this since the author is a friend of mine, Simon Papalecciu, this very outstanding scientist. And since this model is very versatile, very flexible, and so it's important to have a flexible model. Okay? So, but the other part, the disaggregation scheme, it was very smart because working with Langusis, that it developed the multifractal theory together with Daniel Scherzer, with Daniele Veneziano, very, statistician and hydrologist, of course. So they just created a multifractal theory, and this very bad equation is the theoretical equation of IDF that follow the theory of the multifractal. Okay? And so this is the empirical one. What you find maybe in your textbook in other with other letters, but these are two are similar. And so the idea was very simple. Knowing this parameter, we can calibrate this and found these two parameters that are responsible of the multifractal disaggregation scheme. Okay? So this is the idea. So you have a daily time series, no matter if this is observed or simulated. This is a starting point. Here you have the IDF parameters. Actually, what you need is only the slope, not necessarily also the A coefficient. Only the slope. It's better and more stable. Then what do you have? You just fit the extreme value distribution on the A coefficient. You use the main rainfall intensities of data and see it's a very stable number. I cannot consider an input because it's very common. If you have a time series, it's a very instantaneous parameter that you can find. And then so you match the theoretical IDF with the empirical IDF to find the two parameters to disaggregate your time series. So I will skip the case study, believe me. This I cannot say that is okay, the model. I can say that is okay in the Arno region. There is a region of Italy. Okay? But we created the platform. So if you go to our platform, you can register paying anything, of course. It's free, but you have to register in any case. And then you can apply the sub-Albi disaggregation scale or the daily simulation model, and then combining both, you can do whatever. Okay? It's still a work in progress. This part is still in beta version, but this part is still working. Okay? So an enormous effort to make not only the papers, but also the software. Because in this way, we can test also here, if you like. It's easy because if I tell you, okay, let's test this model on your data set, I have to give the code of R, but I cannot use R, or I use R in another version, or I use MATLAB, or I use Java or Python, and so you get crazy. And so this way, you can go to the platform, you can use it, we can plan a test together, and we can verify if the rainfall time series of Chile country, we can have some strange behavior of the model, so we need to make some adjustment and so on. So it is something that we are doing with some colleagues around the world, in Iran, and in the east of Europe. Also in Brazil, there was a student of Pedro that came to Viterbo for a couple of weeks. And then we'll see. It's a long process, but it's important that something it is tested around the world, but not tested with thousand and thousand range. You see these maps with a million of range, and I tested, and they show you just the autocorrelation function to verify the performances. It's not working with it. Because testing something, you have to dig in the data, to apply an hydrological model, to see if there are some strange behavior that are not evident in the normal statistical description that we have in the 10 series. Because people then, if you like, if this is your aim, has to apply that 10 series, not just look the distribution function plot. They have to use it, and if they use in the model and you discover that there is an explosion of the stochastic behavior of 10 series, you are in trap. So you have done something that is totally useless. Okay? So these are the topics I think it can be of interest of your community to test, and we can do it in collaborations and maybe PhD with it. The last one will be very okay. But the question is fascinating. If you have a flood early warning system, what is a flood early warning system? It's something like this. Okay, so you have a basin, you have several cross sections where you have the the discharge observation. Okay, and then you apply a machine learning or a physical model, whatever, to make the forecast here of your discharge. Okay, so in case you have an extreme event, this flood early warning system make an early warning of the flood happening. Okay, so the question is, which is the most important subbasin that's contributing to the forecast? So in practice is, if I don't have any cross section, I have to design where to locate my cross section. Where should I install my instrumentation? Or better, another question. If I have this already present, designed, working early warning system, these are locations are optimal or not? Because at least in Italy, for instance, the Tiber River, the cross section were installed not because that subbasin were optimal, just because there was a breach in the past, 17, 18, 18 years old ago. Since there was a breach, it was installed the instrumentation, but not necessarily they were an optical location. And so, if you are able to answer to this question, allow you to maybe to remove some cross section and put money to maintain just a few number of cross sections that are crucial for the forecasting of the flood in your section. So this is the framework. The framework is that you have your watershed and you have to decide where to install. So you divide your watershed in the all subbasins possible. You generate synthetic scenarios of rainfall. You apply a distributed hydrological model. And so you can identify which is the synthetic hydrographs in all the subbasin outlet and your outlet. So knowing this information, you can apply the machine learning tools to make the forecasting, okay, using let's assume that you divided your basin in 20 subbasins, okay? So you apply the machine learning to using in input the 20 subbasins and in output the outlet of the basin, okay? Using the future important measure that are linked to the machine learning tool, is able to discriminate which subbasin is more influent into the forecasting of the output. This is very interesting statistical tool. At the end, what do you understand? That these three subbasins are the most important one. Okay? But of course, in case you do not have anything, in case you have already your network that is operating, you can take the observation and make the same analysis. If you have enough data, you can verify if I have 10 cross-section with 100 years, with 30 years of observation, maybe you can understand which cross-section are the most influent in the forecast. Okay? So I will show you an example related to this sample. I think I have 5 minutes now. Okay. So this is the basin, the watershed. They were divided in all subbasins. This blue triangle were the rainfall rain gauge. And then these are all the nodes that we have. So, making the process that I explained it, we generated 447 events. Okay? And then you can apply the machine learning method. Apply the machine learning method. What do we have? That the crucial important measure says that the number 8 is the most important. And the number 4, the number 12, the 12 and 4, the 24 and 4 are more important. So making an ensemble of this information, you can identify what? The optimal configuration. So the most important is the subbasin number 8. If you want to use 2 cross-section, you have to use 8 and 4. And then 12, and then 7. But what was important is, if you use only these 4, in these lines, there are the errors of the forecasting. So what does it mean? These lines are crucial to understand the exercise. This is the errors in forecasting the flood. Okay? If I use all the subbasins, of course, it's the optimal situation. Okay? And the error is, these are the 3 kind of errors. Okay? The value of these 3 kind of errors are this. But if I use only 4 cross-section, I have the same error than if I use all the subbasins. So the answer is that, for this, for instance, this early warning system lag, for instance, 10 hours forecasting ahead, the 3 most important are this. And if you use these 3, you are okay. Not necessary to use all the others. So I think it's very powerful, either for designing the new flood early system and or for checking the current flood early system if they were appropriately designed. Because they were designed many years ago, or eventually using instrumentation located many years ago for other reasons. Okay, so if you want to move, for instance, a station from here to the other side, allow you to have higher performance in forecasting. So again, possible collaboration, of course, if you have a data set of a network of river discharge measurement that feed the flood early warning system, it can be checked easily with the observation if there is this behavior. It's more complex to make all the analysis, all the framework, because it means that you should simulate rainfall, apply the distributed hydrological model. So there are a lot of skills put on the table to do that, okay? But it's important to also that the future important measure can be applied for all the application that we have in hydrology. This is just one application. So when you have a system, a nonlinear system with many inputs and one output, and you make a forecasting, this tool allows you to discriminate the role of the inputs. So if you have apples and pineapple, I don't care about the variables, but it should be random variables at least. Let's at least random variables. And you are making a forecasting between apple, strawberry, whatever, with the pineapple, you can understand which is the most important input. And so independently of plant forecasting in one system, this technique can be applied or many other possible applications. If you check in literature, there are a lot of applications that use this topic to discriminate the role of the inputs. Okay. So I think that I summarized many things. I'm very happy to have had the time to talk about techniques, methodologies, and research topics because it's important for collaborating, and I love to collaborate with many communities around the world. But at the same time, I think it's important to focus to underline the importance of the association. Like IHS, I'm here thanks to these activities. And so to understand also why it's important to think about the solution. And the presentation I showed you, that you can do and plan research with a vision. And so whatever you like to work on, I think it's important that at the end of the journey, there will be a model, a formula, a number on something to disseminate, to communicate, and to share with the community. Okay? Thank you. Grazie.
Salvatore, gracias a todos por la atención. No sé si hay alguna pregunta o alguna inquietud. Tenemos algunos minutos para eso. ¿Tienen el Zoom?
No, tenemos preguntas ahora. No sé.
Yo tengo una. So, thinking about the students and the younger researchers and IHS, what are the ways in which young people can get more involved? Is there a membership? How do you participate in IHS?
Yes, IHS, first of all, go on the website and register. The membership is free. And you can also do something very interesting that we have the Digital Water Globe. The Digital Water Globe is a sort of not social, I would say, but you can make your profile and you will be geo-referenced, and it will be nice that after my visiting, there will be Chile with a lot of people. In the Digital Water Globe, maybe I'm connected, maybe I can show you here. Where? Okay, IHS.
Sí,
This is the Digital Water Globe. Okay, so you can see here is all over the world, and these numbers are people that added their profile. Okay, so
How many do we have from Chile?
sorry,
Can you show how many people do we have from Chile?
not so many for sure. Two. Something. I mean, it's not easy because the time consuming. We are changing that. The next year will be changed by maybe actually, because I'm trying to make it something automatic procedure that, for instance, if I'm going to register now to be member of HS, that is different to this. Okay, automatically will be created a profile for the digital. It's something that's another. So, but why it's important to register to IHS? Because you will have information. You will be in the main list, and so you will have information about many initiatives, and we'll explain one that is important for you. And if you make the profile, you can add more. Okay, so of course, the master student is not important to make the profile, not necessarily, but it's better to do. But for professors, researchers, it's important. Why it is important? Because as a president of IHS, if I go in a country, I don't know who is a friend. And nowadays, it's important because if you told me that Chu Wang Yong, if you find on the internet Chu Wang Yong, who is, or Zhongguo Liu, it's not possible. Because there are many people that in the internet are similar, maybe also hydrology, water science related. But in this case, I can go, okay, I would like to go to Bolivia. Ah, nobody's there. I would like to see South America full of people. And this is my effort that actually, you see this number, Brazil. Think that before the Latin American Committee creation, there was an initiative IHS. It was empty. And I didn't have a contact in Brazil that has a national conference of hydrology of 1,500 people. But I didn't have a name to contact. I'm coming to Brazil. I need a rainfall time series. No way. So you understand how crucial it is. Because it allows you to interact easily because the profile, there are papers, there are information. It's time consuming, I know. But it's something, and you can tell me, but I have ResearchGate. Why not? But it's different. Because you know that these names are part of IHS. So you speak the same language. You have the same mission. You share the same initiative. It's different to go to the ResearchGate. If I contacted an Ecuador colleague, I tell him, I'm Salvatore Grimaldi, I'm from IHS, I'm pretty sure that he can tell me, okay, come here, we can have a seminar. But if I do the same on ResearchGate, maybe it will not reply me because you are not in the same family. Okay? Concerning the students, I created a new initiative that it's I'm really making a lot of effort to launch is the IHS Academy. IHS Academy is important. I worked in many years. I worked in IHS since the last 25 years, all my career. Okay, and I created a working group. It was the name was a Statistical and Hydrology Working Group, and then that working group was transformed in a commission, a National Commission of Statistical and Hydrology. And in that period, we organized a lot of short courses in the specific topic. It was copula function topic. I don't know if you know this name. It's a statistical tool, and thanks to the effort of that working group, that we solved all the problems of copula function. And now the communities have able codes that make all the inference procedures of that. So I discovered the value of the short courses. You participated, you mentioned me, one short course on GIS.
Yes.
Okay, so where it was
in New York.
In New York. So we did it in statistical hydrology and GIS for my research. And the value of the short course is unbelievable. Okay, because you are together for a week, but not only for the dinner, working together, explaining. And so the idea was to organize in the same place four short courses on 4 different topics, but in the same venue, 1 week duration, actually 5 days duration, the same target of all the short courses. So in the morning theory, in the afternoon lab, and the last day presentations of the project that you develop during the week. And so why it's important? Why the IHS Academy is different to a short course? Because we have 4. So you have 25 participants for each short courses. So you have 100 people together. You have one theoretical lecturer, one lab assistant. So you have 8 lectures all together. So networking as you prefer, okay? Different topics, so you can also ask, interact, so a lot of things. But the most important is that you can approach faculties and he can evaluate you. If you want to be recruited, for instance, as a PhD or as assistant professor, is the right place there to show your value. Because sometimes, above all for many countries, actually, I would say, when I receive that curriculum, it's not enough. Because you can write whatever you like. But if I spend together 1 week together, faculties and students, and you are motivated, you work very hard, and your skill will be evident. And also the faculty, not necessarily that faculty should recruit you, but that faculty can tell a friend, oh, okay, that guy was good. And so be aware that it's from Iran or from China or from whatever. And it's available, it's a hard worker and motivated, and it's crucial. It's crucial for the young generation to have this incubator for their career. And of course, during the school, you have the opportunity to learn new tools and new theories and so on. The next one, we failed. The first one failed to be organized because it was organized in Egypt. But we had a problem with the local organizer, and it was really frustrating for me. But the new one will be in China in February, and I think it will be announced in September, for sure. Announced in September. And the 4 topics, there will be one on the rainfall simulation model, and Simon Papalex will be one of the lectures on high-level short courses. And I think it would be a magnificent experience. And Pablo was in New York. I think it was fantastic. I remember that edition in New York, very, very nice, either for the students and a nice atmosphere altogether. I think it's just 2008. Yeah, 2008. Okay. So I think for the young, it's very important. The new format is also important for the scientific assembly that we have every 2 years. The next one will be Rocky, I told you. In 2 years, it will be in Incheon, in Korea. But why it's important for you? Because at your age, it's not important to be the oral contribution of 15 minutes per. It's too dangerous, okay? Because if you are young, you are nervous, and so you need time to practice with these communication skills. And so if you have 1 minute presentation, I think it's fantastic because in 1 minute, no risk, okay, to make too many damages, okay? But we have enormous visibility because there are people that are pressing me, oh, I want to honor contribution. And all the local organizers typically. Do you understand that this is dangerous? Because in front of 500 people, if you don't do a good job, you lose your reputation just in 15 minutes. So don't be hurry to go on the stage for the 15 minutes presentation. 1 minute presentation, then you discuss in front of the poster. That is the most important thing for you. In my career in San Francisco for the AGU, American Geophysical Union, Scientific Assembly, I had the most memorable experience in front of the poster with very high-level scientists that pushed me a lot in front of the poster, sharing, and of course it was very, very interesting. So also the assembly is important for the younger generation. All the activities.
Right. Thank you, Salvatore. I think we are ready with time. So thank you very much again. Gracias, Karina.
Gracias.
Yeah.